This is a very, very important show pertaining to technology and also pertaining to suicide, teenage suicide. They reference a great deal of the problem simply off of technology as far as kids being able to communicate with other kids all over the place. I personally believe that the children, though they do have undeveloped minds, I personally believe that they can see through the lenses of reality of something much different than the blinded adults. Once more, it goes back to the Bible, with the blind lead the blind shall also leadeth up into the ditch. We've got so much of the adult Homo sapien society here in America that is so blinded that they don't know which way to go. And they're putting out all these signals. Oh, it's okay to be gay. Oh, it's not okay to abort. Oh, it is okay to abort children. Oh, it's okay to be a dyke. Oh, it's okay not to be a dyke. Oh, it's okay. Oh, it's not okay. Oh, it's okay. Oh, no, it's not okay. We're putting out all these signals, and our children are becoming confused because they don't know which way to go. We got boys that don't know to be girls. We got girls that don't know to be boys. We have a disruptive social structure here in America. We have been infiltrated from the inside out pertaining to being sabotaged. Please, if you have children, you do not need to ignore this message. This is an important message. Please, please listen.
A newly published study finds that fully 1/3 of all teenagers visiting emergency rooms were assessed as suicide risks.
1/3 of all teenagers being exposed to the medical professional industry, 1/3 of them come in as candidates that have been associated with a suicide attempt. Listen to some more of this.
It's an amazing number, but if you know the bigger number, it's maybe not that surprising. Suicide and suicide attempts are rising rapidly among young people, along with depression and many other mental ailments. The dramatic surge in suicides coincides closely, and you can graph it out, with the rise of social media and the ubiquity of smartphones. Are they related? And if they are related, as they appear to be, why aren't lawmakers doing something about it right now?
Some of it's related. There's no doubt. Some of it is related. But what's causing even more so is that they're seeing all these messed up signals. And they're seeing church members that claim to be church members that are cheating on their wives and cheating on their husbands. And they're seeing church people that claim to be church people that are breaking God's laws. And now, all of a sudden, these children who at one time had the mind of a child now are starting to develop towards understanding. And you know what? They don't want no part of this. They're looking at this through their eyes, through their understanding, and they don't want any part of what the adult society has unleashed out for all of us to have to be desensitized to. They don't want it. And because they don't want it, we're seeing a spike in high rising attempt suicides. Please listen.
Tom Kirsting is a family therapist, author of the book Disconnected, How to Reconnect Our Digitally Distracted Kids, and we're glad to have him tonight. Tom, thanks very much for coming on. So this seems like 1/3 of kids being admitted to emergency rooms are believed to be at risk for suicide. I don't know what to say about that number. Are you surprised by it?
It's frightening. I actually am surprised by it. I didn't think it was that bad. I want to explain why, okay? So when you look at pre-adolescence and adolescence, that's an important developmental stage, okay? Your hormones are changing. You're trying to figure out who you are, where you fit in, who your friend group is. It's a built-in sort of insecurity. It's an important transition into adulthood, okay? And it's something that kids need to navigate in order to grow and learn and become sufficient adults. Now, you add to the equation what I call the modern-day weapons of mass destruction, these smartphones, with all of the social media, and now these kids have a platform where they're constantly comparing themselves to others, where they're constantly getting feedback or...
And I do agree with a lot of what he's saying, because we have been bombarded with all this new technology that has suddenly come out of the woodwork in comparison to places like Korea, China, Russia, who has been exposed to this type of technology probably going back 10 years ago, whenever it was all in the process of manufacturing itself over there. And they're that much more further ahead of us. And because of various politicians that didn't lead the way properly in keeping it disclosed up until the past 5 years, now, or I say 5 years, maybe 7, 8 years, now all of a sudden we've got a group of people that don't know how to handle this bombardment of information that's been handed to them. It's really sad. Once more, it's the blind lead the blind shall also leadeth off into the ditch. Those instruments that you hold in your hand is basically a tool and a weapon. And you can weaponize that tool in a good way towards defending your character, defending your innocence, defending your sanity, or you can be the bad guy on the block or the bad gal on the block, and instead of you trying to help society, you're actually trying to hurt society, and the way that you're trying to hurt society is by using that same tool, that same instrument. You've weaponized it. And now you're infiltrating young, innocent, weak minds and weak hearts, tender hearts that don't know how to handle that type of ridicule, that don't know how to handle that type of censorness. And I blame a lot of it on the politicians, but I blame also a lot of it on the preachers, because the preachers let this sideswipe us all from the side and didn't properly prepare us right. I guarantee you can take that smartphone right there to the majority of either AT&T or Verizon or whatever type of phone distributor that you have, and the majority of them that are selling it can't even operate it. Oh, they may be able to take this and go into this avenue, and they may be able to look this up, and they may be able to track it here, track it there, but I've had, God only knows, at the technicians that has told me, hey, all we do is sell the product. We don't teach people how to use it. Oh, really? Isn't that funny? When you buy a car, it comes with an owner's manual. And if that seller is a good seller, if he realizes that he's dealing with a group of elderly people that maybe not are so swiftity up pertaining to all the gizmos and gadgets, if that seller's a good seller, he's going to teach his buyer, hey, this whistle does this bell does this gizmo gadget does this. The same way with selling a vacuum cleaner or a washing machine or anything else. They have dumped this off into our laps. And suddenly, all of a sudden, we not only had to become the user of this product, but we had to become the technician of this product. In other words, we had to go in and decipher towards, oh, okay, this does this does that, don't do this, don't do that, go over here to pull this up, go over here to pull that up. In other words, we had to become technicians. Now, the younger generation growing up, they caught on real quick towards to operate their gizmos and gadgets, but now they're having a backlash of another problem, which is being bombarded with too much information, too much criticism, too much censorness going on. So we have jumped basically out of the fire pan into the fire. We have been sabotaged because we was not properly prepped or trained.
Seeking feedback from the outside world, and it's compromising their self-esteem. Because self-esteem, which is how you feel about yourself.
Now, what did he just say? Let's back up.
And sort of insecurity. It's an important.
Let's back up a little bit more.
Are believed to be at risk for suicide. That's a. I don't know what to say about that number. Are you surprised by it?
It's frightening. I actually am surprised by it. I didn't think it was that bad. I want to explain why. Okay, so when you look at pre-adolescence and adolescence, that's an important developmental stage. Okay, your hormones are changing. You're trying to figure out who you are, where you fit in, who your friend group is. It's a built-in sort of insecurity. It's an important transition into adulthood. Okay, and it's something that kids need to navigate in order to grow and learn and become sufficient adults. Now, you add to the equation what I call the modern day weapons of mass destruction, these smartphones with all of the social media, and now these kids have a platform where they're constantly comparing themselves to others, where they're constantly getting feedback or seeking feedback from the outside world, and it's compromising their self-esteem. Because self-esteem, which is how you feel about yourself, your happiness and your joy, is never anything that can be gotten from the outside world. It can only come from the inside. It's an inside-out thing, not an outside-in thing.
So why isn't there a national conversation about what to do about this? Why are we sitting passively back? Why aren't lawmakers? I mean, if these were cigarettes, we'd have a lot of florid-faced members of Congress yelling in hearings, but nobody says a word. Why?
And what's fascinating, too, Tucker, I lecture on this topic all the time, the average age of smartphone issuance is 10.3 years old. So we can ask any parent, anybody watching right now, they know, we all know that's just a terrible idea, but that's the average age. And it's basically where we tend to do what everybody else around us is doing. And I think what we're going to see, I think we're going to have to see lawmakers step in and start having rules, like with cigarette smoking. Maybe if I was in control of this, I wouldn't allow kids to have the smartphones until they were 18 years old, if I was the guy that got to make that decision.
I'd ban it tomorrow. I couldn't agree more. But that's a radical position. Ignoring it, 1/3 of preteens admitted to emergency rooms are liable to commit suicide. That's not a crisis?
That's a crisis.
So it's radical. It is a crisis.
Yeah, so 2007
is enough studying.
But the thing about it is, if you can't get everybody to join up in the same ideology, that's just like down in Texas. If they catch you as a parent driving an automobile and there's a minor either in the front seat or the back seat, by Texas law, they can pull you over and ticket you for bringing an injustice into that child's life because you're endangering that child by secondhand smoke. But yet now you go to Tennessee or Kentucky and you see judges, lawyers, even Sunday school teachers, deacons, people that's in church, that's supposed to know better, to know that cigarette is harmful to your health. Not only are they harming their health, but they're harming the passenger that may be with them. And it doesn't matter whether or not it's an adult or a child. So until we can wake up to these advanced dangers that are going on around us, we're going to continue to see harmful acts of intolerable injustices happening because we're not smart enough to identify what the problem is. And it's really, really irritating. It's really, really sad. If your eyes is opened and you can see what people such as ourselves or this gentleman here talking can see pertaining to parenting, teen parenting, etc. It's really irritating because you can see the dangers that's going on, but nobody's raising a red flag to it, and it's almost as if nobody cares. It's sad.
Being done of this.
In and start having rules like with cigarette smoking. Maybe if I was in control of this, I wouldn't allow kids to have the smartphones until they were 18 years old. If I was the guy that got to make that decision,
I'd ban it tomorrow. I couldn't agree more. But that's a radical position. Ignoring it, 1/3 of preteens admitted to emergency rooms are liable to commit suicide. That's not a crisis.
That's a crisis.
So it's radical. Yeah. It is a crisis.
Yeah, so 2007
is enough studying being done of this?
There is studies that are coming out right now, okay, that are starting to show a correlation between all of the anxiety disorders, the depressions that we're seeing in unprecedented numbers. The actual age in which kids are now committing suicide is going down. It's going earlier and earlier. And it coincides with the rise starting in 2007. And guess what also started happening right around 2007? That's when smartphones started coming out. That's when everybody started having all of their social media right in their pockets, in the palms of their hands. And our kids are getting lost in this superficial world, and are losing sight of the real world and themselves.
It's amazing that, in 1964, it was very controversial, the Surgeon General's warning on packs of cigarettes. People said, well, it's not really established. You really feel like we're there right now. There are people saying, well, we don't really know. And it's blindingly obvious what's happening.
It really is. And, you look at big tech. I mean, the tech industry has a tremendous amount of power. And they have, their goal is to get eyeballs as long as possible on their products. And they want to recruit these individuals when they're young. And 10 years old, think about that. 10.3 years old is the average age that kids are getting smartphones. That's absolutely crazy.
Well, I hope they're sleeping well, the people who are selling this garbage. Tom, thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. Good seeing you.
Once more, if you look at the first 3 chapters of Revelations, it talks about the depths of Satan. By and large, anyone that reads into that says, oh, this must be talking about breaking the commandments of God. Thou shalt not steal, honor thy father and thy mother, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not lie, etc., etc., etc. That's only part of it. That's only part of it. Now you got to look at all the other stuff that is unnatural occurrences, from electricity to running water to cars to flying airplanes to the type of clothing that we wear to the type of food that we eat to our everyday practices that we go to and fro and from in regard to how we live our lifestyles. It's all of it. Whenever God is talking there to the 7 churches, and he says, see thou that no man shall take thy crown, he who have not known the depths of Satan, hold fast till I come. The depths of Satan can be anything from drug use to pornography, obsession, to stripping off your clothes and jumping around from bedroom to bedroom with Tom, Dick, and Harry, or with Sally and Sue and who knows who else. It's all of it in combined. And once more, we have been sabotaged. This has been dumped into our laps. And now all of a sudden the senior citizens around in this particular area, I still know people in this particular area that are kind of like me. They're still having trouble with the English language, much less knowing how to be a tech-savvy computer whiz on a smartphone towards being able to go in and operate the thing, in addition to all the other old fogies that are still using flip phones or don't even have a phone. I mean, there's too many clashes here, sending out too many messages. And we wonder what's wrong with our children towards the boys not knowing to go to the girls' restroom, or the girls not going to the boys' restroom. Too many signals. Too much information. It's bombarding our civil duties as performing as normal citizens. And it's having a profound effect upon to our children.
China is becoming a superpower on the cusp of surpassing the United States in economic power. And while it's doing so, it is still treating its people like cattle, literally, in some cases. That's next. Plus, Mike Rowe joins us to discuss...
And I don't doubt that at all, because it's a communist-controlled country. Kind of like Venezuela. Oh, God. When the Bible teaches us and tells us that in the last days perilous times shall come, we are definitely in that era, to the point now that perilous times, which means dangerous, are upon us. And we just need to pray for each other and be strong for each other, especially our youth, because that is our future of whether or not we're going to survive as a country or we're going to die as a country.